I'm looking at a woman I should know. She sits across from me at this small cafe table, her hands wrapped around a coffee cup that's gone cold. The afternoon light cuts through the window behind her, turning her hair into something golden, something I might have once called beautiful. She's watching me with eyes that hold too much hope, maybe, or grief, or something worse. Patience. I don't know her name. The leather journal between us is worn at the edges, its pages swollen from years of use. My handwriting covers every inch of it. I recognize the loops and slants as mine, even if I can't remember writing a single word. She slides it closer to me. Her fingernails painted a soft coral that seems somehow familiar, and I feel my chest tighten with a panic I'm learning to hide. Read it, she says, her voice cracking just slightly. I open to a random page. Today, Anna laughed so hard at my terrible joke that coffee came out of her nose. I've never loved her more than in that moment. Anna. The name should unlock something. It doesn't. I flip through more pages. Dates, details, photographs tucked between entries. A wedding? A trip to some coastal town. Dinners and arguments and reconciliations. A whole life lived by someone who used to be me, with someone who used to be known. This journal was supposed to save me. I remember that much, the desperate certainty that if I could just write it all down, pin our memories to paper like butterflies in a case, I could keep them. Keep her. Keep myself. But butterflies don't stay beautiful forever. They crumble to dust. I close the journal and meet her eyes again. She's crying now, tears running silently down her cheeks, and some ancient instinct makes me want to comfort her. But how do you comfort a stranger? How do you apologize for forgetting someone's entire existence? I'm sorry, I say, and I mean it, even though I don't fully understand what I'm apologizing for. She reaches across the table and takes my hand. Her touch is warm, familiar in a way my mind can't grasp, but my body somehow remembers. It's okay, she whispers. I remember for both of us now. I lost this war. The disease won. But sitting here with this woman whose name I've already forgotten again, feeling her hand in mine, I understand that I didn't lose everything. I just don't remember what I'm still holding on to. The conference room falls silent as I click to the final slide. 23 faces stare back at me. Investors, board members, the kind of people who can smell weakness from across a mahogany table. I don't give them any. The structural calculations for the suspended walkway on floors 12 through 15, I say, my laser pointer tracing the red line across the blueprint, account for a load capacity 30% above standard requirements. That's not just meeting code. That's anticipating the next 50 years of use. I don't need notes. Every specification, every variance request, every cost projection lives in my head like a perfectly organized filing system. The senior engineer from the competing firm tried to catch me earlier with a question about wind load calculations on the northwest facade. I rattled off the numbers without hesitation, down to the decimal point. This is what I do. This is who I am. Martin Chen from the investment group leans forward, his pen tapping against his notepad. He's been the skeptical one all morning, but I can see the shift in his expression now. Respect, maybe even a little awe. The presentation runs another 20 minutes. I walk them through drainage systems, emergency protocols, the sustainability features that will make this building a landmark. My mind moves like water, flowing from one detail to the next without effort, without pause. I reference a conversation from 3 weeks ago, a modification someone suggested in passing. They're impressed that I remembered. Of course I remembered. I remember everything. When I finish, the applause is genuine. Handshakes follow, business cards exchanged with promises of follow-up calls. Martin corners me by the elevator, already talking about fast-tracking the approval process. The project is mine. I knew it would be, but the confirmation still sends a current of satisfaction through my chest. I'm 39 years old and at the absolute peak of my career. Everything I've worked for is finally aligning. By the time I get home, the autumn sun has already set. Our apartment glows warm through the windows. Anna must have lit the candles she loves, the ones that smell like vanilla, and something woodsy I can never quite name. I find her in the kitchen, laptop open on the counter, surrounded by printouts of floor plans and paint swatches. She looks up when I walk in, and her smile does what it always does, makes everything else fade into background noise. So? She asks, already reading my expression. I drop my briefcase and cross to her, pulling her into a kiss that tastes like the peppermint tea she's been drinking. They loved it. Chen practically offered to write the check on the spot. She squeals and wraps her arms around my neck, and for a moment we're just standing there in our small kitchen, holding each other like we've already won everything that matters. I knew it, she whispers against my shoulder. I told you they'd be idiots not to. I pull back to look at the chaos spread across our counter. What's all this? The house. She gestures at the plans with barely contained excitement. I found 3 more properties today. This one has the garden you wanted, and this one has that ridiculous amount of closet space I need, and this one... She taps a printout of a craftsman-style home with a wraparound porch. This one has a room that would be perfect for your office. South-facing windows, built-in bookshelves. I lean over her shoulder, studying the layouts. The house with the garden is listed at just above our budget, but with the Chen project locked down, we could stretch. The closet space one is in a good school district. We haven't talked seriously about kids yet, but the thought is there, hovering in our future like a promise we're both waiting to make. What about this one? I point to the craftsman. There's something about it, the solid lines and honest structure, that appeals to the architect in me. It needs work, she admits. The kitchen is from approximately 1987, and I think that bathroom tile might be original to the house. But the bones are good, and it has that porch. Can you imagine us on that porch? Morning coffee, evening wine, watching the neighborhood go by? I can imagine it. I can see it so clearly it's almost like a memory from the future. Anna curled up in a wicker chair with a book, me working through blueprints at a small table, the sound of wind chimes she'll insist on hanging. Maybe a dog at our feet. Maybe eventually a kid's bicycle leaning against the railing. We should see it this weekend, I say. She turns to face me fully, her hands coming up to rest on my chest. Really? You think we're ready? I got the project, Anna. We're more than ready. Her eyes search mine, and I know what she's looking for. Certainty, commitment, the assurance that we're building something permanent. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Okay, she says softly. This weekend, we'll go look at our future house. Our future house. The words settle into my mind alongside all the other details I've collected today. The wind load calculations, the board members' names, the exact shade of blue Anna wants for the bedroom. Everything filed away, perfectly preserved, ready to be recalled whenever I need it. This is my life. This is our life. And I remember every beautiful moment of it. It starts small. So small I almost miss it. I'm in a meeting with the structural engineering team, walking them through the revised load-bearing calculations for the Chen project, when I need to reference something from our initial consultation. The client's representative, the woman with the sharp questions and the red glasses, had raised a specific concern about the foundation work. I can see her face clearly, remember the exact inflection in her voice when she asked about soil composition reports. But her name is gone. I pause mid-sentence, my hand hovering over the project folder. Thompson? Tompkins? It starts with a T, I'm almost certain. The silence stretches just a beat too long. My junior architect, Derek, glances up from his tablet with a questioning look. The client rep, I say, covering smoothly, raised concerns about the geological survey in our first meeting. Derek nods and we move on, but the blank space where that name should be feels like a missing tooth. My tongue keeps finding it, probing the gap, trying to understand what happened. By the time I get home, I've convinced myself it was nothing. Stress. Too many late nights. I've been juggling 3 major projects simultaneously, barely sleeping, living on coffee and takeout. Of course, some details are going to slip through the cracks. That's what I tell myself when I spend 15 minutes searching for my car keys the next morning, only to find them in the refrigerator next to the milk. Anna laughs when I tell her, calls me her absent-minded professor, kisses me on the way out the door. I laugh too, but something cold settles in my stomach. The following week, I'm supposed to meet with a potential client at a restaurant downtown. I've been to this place a dozen times. Dark wood paneling, excellent wine list, that pasta dish Anna loves with the truffle oil. I've taken clients here specifically because I know it so well, because I can navigate the menu and the sommelier and the quiet corner booths without thinking. Except when I get there, nothing looks familiar. I stand on the sidewalk outside, checking the address on my phone 3 times. This is definitely the place. The sign above the door matches the name in my calendar, but the interior visible through the windows could belong to any upscale restaurant in the city. I can't remember if the bar's on the left or right. Can't remember if there are stairs to a second level. The hostess greets me like a stranger. Maybe I've never been here before. Maybe I imagine those dozen visits, confuse this place with somewhere else. The thought makes my pulse quicken in a way that has nothing to do with the important pitch I'm about to make. My client, I remember his name, thank God Richard Paulson, arrives and I force myself to focus. The presentation goes well. He's interested in a residential complex with sustainable features, something innovative. I outline possibilities, sketch preliminary concepts on the paper tablecloth. By the end of the dinner, he's ready to move forward, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm standing on ice that's just starting to crack beneath my feet. The incidents multiply, small things mostly. I forget my office building's security code one morning and have to wait for someone else to let me in. I miss a dentist appointment that I could have sworn was next week. I call Anna by her sister's name one evening, just once, just for a second, and see something flicker in her eyes before she pretends not to notice. I start making lists, phone reminders for everything. I check my calendar obsessively, cross-reference my appointments 3 different ways. I tell myself this is just being organized, being professional. Everyone uses tools to stay on top of their schedule, but I've never needed them before. The worst moment comes during a site inspection. I'm walking through the skeletal frame of a building I've been working on for 8 months, and for a brief, vertigo-inducing instant, I can't remember which project this is. The steel beams stretch around me in patterns that should be instantly recognizable. I designed them, calculated every angle and joint, but they might as well be abstract art. It lasts maybe 3 seconds. Then everything clicks back into place and I'm myself again, pointing out details to the construction foreman, discussing timeline adjustments. But those 3 seconds felt like standing at the edge of a cliff in the dark, not knowing how far the drop goes. That night, I lie in bed next to Anna, listening to her breathe in the easy rhythm of sleep. My mind races through everything I did today, checking off memories like items on an inventory list. Morning coffee with Anna? Check. The morning meeting? Check. Lunch at my desk? Check. The site inspection? Check. But with that terrible gap, that moment of not knowing. I reach for Anna in the dark, needing the solid warmth of her, the proof that some things remain constant. She murmurs something and moves closer, her hand finding mine. Tomorrow I'll call Dr. Harrison for a physical. It's probably nothing. Stress, burnout, maybe low iron or a vitamin deficiency. Something simple. Something fixable. It has to be. Because the alternative, that something fundamental is breaking inside my mind, that the perfect filing system I've always relied on is starting to corrupt, is too terrifying to consider. So I don't. I close my eyes and will myself toward sleep, pretending I don't feel the hairline fracture spreading through everything I thought I knew about myself. Anna reserves our table 3 weeks in advance. The same restaurant where we had our first date 7 years ago? Or is it 8? The number wavers in my mind like heat shimmer on asphalt, and I have to check my phone to confirm. 7. Our 7th anniversary. She wears the blue dress I love, the one that matches her eyes. I notice because I've trained myself to notice everything now, to catalog each detail as it happens. afraid that if I don't actively encode the memory, it will slip away like water through my fingers. The restaurant looks different than I remember, but then again, everything does lately. The lighting seems dimmer, or maybe brighter. The music playing in the background, jazz, something with a piano, feels both familiar and strange. Anna is talking about her day at the gallery, an installation piece that's causing problems with the ventilation system. And I nod along, watching her hands move as she speaks. She reaches across the table and takes my hand, her thumb tracing circles on my palm. The gesture is so familiar it makes my chest ache. "Do you remember?" she asks, her eyes soft with nostalgia. I smile, buying time. "Remember what? The anniversary? The restaurant? Something specific about tonight?" "Remember what?" I ask, keeping my tone light, playful. "Our first date. Right here, at this exact table." She gestures around us. "You were so nervous you knocked over your water glass before we even ordered." The words should unlock something. A clear image. A sequence of events. The first date, surely that's burned into my memory. One of the foundation stones of our relationship. I spilled water. We were sitting here, at this table. What else? What happened next? Nothing comes. I laugh, still trying to keep it casual. I was trying to impress you with my sophisticated charm. But Anna's expression shifts. She knows me too well, can read the micro expressions I can't quite control. Her smile falters. "Alex, you do remember, right? You told me later that you'd practiced what you were going to say in the mirror. You ordered for both of us because I couldn't decide, and you somehow knew I'd love the butternut squash ravioli even though I'd never had it before." The panic starts low in my gut and spreads outward. I should remember this. This is important. This is the beginning of us, the moment everything changed. I can feel the shape of where the memory should be, like running my tongue over that missing tooth again. But there's just emptiness. "Of course," I hear myself say, but my voice sounds wrong. Distant. Anna pulls her hand back. "What did we talk about? On that first date?" The restaurant tilts slightly. I grip the edge of the table. "Anna, what did I wear?" Her voice is rising now, drawing glances from nearby tables. "What did you say to me when you walked me home?" I can't breathe properly. The jazz piano in the background sounds distorted, the notes stretching and warping. I should know this. I should know everything about that night. What she wore, what we ate, the way the streetlights looked on the walk home. These are the details I'm supposed to keep. This is who I am. Who I was. I don't... The admission cost me everything. I can't remember. The look on Anna's face is worse than if I'd struck her. Her eyes fill with tears and she's shaking her head, not in denial, but in a kind of horrified understanding. Because this isn't just about forgetting a date anymore. This is about all the little things that have been adding up. All the moments she's been pretending not to notice. We leave without ordering. Anna drives us home in silence while I sit in the passenger seat, my mind frantically searching through files that are corrupted or missing entirely. I can remember the Chen project blueprints in perfect detail. I can recall conversations from college about load-bearing calculations. But our first date, the most important night of my life, is just gone. The next morning, I'm in Dr. Harrison's office. Not my regular doctor, but a neurologist whose name Anna found through her gallery connections. Dr. Sarah Chen. I note her name carefully, write it down, terrified I'll forget it before the appointment is over. The tests are extensive. Cognitive assessments, memory games that feel like elaborate humiliations. She shows me a list of words and asks me to recall them 5 minutes later. I remember 3 out of 10. She has me draw a clock face from memory. My hand shakes as I realize I'm not entirely sure where the numbers go. There are brain scans. An MRI where I lie perfectly still in a tube that sounds like the world ending, trying not to think about what they're looking for in the images of my brain. Blood tests to rule out vitamin deficiencies, thyroid issues, anything that might explain this without being what I'm terrified it is. Anna sits in the waiting room, and I can picture her there perfectly. Legs crossed, hands gripping her phone, probably not actually reading whatever's on the screen. Just waiting. Like I'm waiting in this tube, in this moment between not knowing and knowing. Dr. Chen calls us back into her office 3 days later. The brain scans are up on her computer screen, cross-sections of my skull that look alien and familiar at once. She points to areas that mean nothing to me, uses words like atrophy and protein deposits and neurodegeneration. Early onset Alzheimer's disease, she says finally, and the words land like stones in still water, sending ripples through everything. I'm 39 years old. Anna makes a sound beside me, something between a gasp and a sob. I reach for her hand automatically and she grips mine so hard it hurts. Good. The pain is real. This is real. Dr. Chen is still talking. Treatment options, clinical trials, support groups, medications that might slow the progression but won't stop it, won't reverse it. She uses phrases like quality of life and advanced planning, and I watch her mouth move but the meaning keeps sliding away from me. How long? That's what I want to ask. How long until I can't remember how to tie my shoes, how to drive a car, how to say Anna's name? But I'm too afraid of the answer. That night, I sit at my desk with a blank journal I bought on the way home. The pages are cream-colored, substantial, the kind of paper that feels important when you write on it. Anna is asleep, or pretending to be, in our bedroom down the hall. I uncap my pen and stare at the first page. If I can't keep the memories in my head, maybe I can keep them here. Every important moment, every detail that makes us who we are. I can write it all down. Create an external hard drive for the filing system that's failing inside my skull. I write the date at the top of the page, then carefully testing each word before I commit it to paper. Today I learned I'm losing my mind, but I'm not going to lose us. Not without a fight. Her name is Anna. We've been together for 7 years. I loved her the first moment I saw her, though I can't remember that moment anymore. I'm going to remember from now on. I'm going to write down everything. This is our story. And even if I forget how to read it, at least it will exist somewhere. My hand is shaking so badly the letters barely look like mine. But I keep writing, filling the page with every detail I can grasp, racing against the clock I can hear ticking in my head. The music has stopped, but maybe, just maybe, I can preserve the echo. The coffee shop on 5th and Morrison. That's where it started. I write the words carefully, savoring the clarity of the memory as it surfaces. It's been 2 weeks since the diagnosis, 2 weeks of living with this new reality, and today is a good day. The kind of day where my mind feels almost like it used to, sharp and reliable, and I'm determined to use every moment of it. Anna left for work an hour ago. I called in sick, though that's not quite the right word for what I'm doing. I'm sitting at our kitchen table with my journal open, a second cup of coffee going cold beside me, and for the first time since Dr. Chen's office, I feel something like hope. The memory of meeting Anna is there, crystalline and perfect, as if someone polished away the fog that's been obscuring it. I can see the coffee shop in perfect detail now. The exposed brick walls, the mismatched vintage furniture, the smell of fresh ground beans, and that slightly burnt undertone that meant someone had scorched the milk again. I was there for a meeting with a potential client who never showed, sitting at a corner table with my laptop and a growing sense of annoyance, checking my phone every 30 seconds. And then she walked in. My pen moves across the page almost without conscious thought, the words flowing like I'm transcribing something rather than creating it. She wore a green jacket, not forest green, not emerald, but something in between that made her red hair look like it was on fire. She had paint on her hands, small flecks of blue and white that she kept trying to scrub off with a napkin while she waited for her order. I watched her for 15 minutes before I found the courage to speak to her. The details keep coming. How she laughed when I made a terrible joke about abstract expressionism, even though I clearly knew nothing about art. How she told me about the gallery where she worked, her hands moving expressively as she described an installation involving suspended mirrors. How we talked for 3 hours straight until the barista started pointedly stacking chairs around us. I write it all down, filling page after page with everything I can extract from that day. The way she bit her lower lip when she was thinking, the small scar on her chin from a childhood bicycle accident, how she ordered her coffee with an absurd amount of vanilla syrup and didn't care that I teased her about it. Our first real date comes next. Not the anniversary dinner I couldn't remember, but the actual first date that happened 2 days after the coffee shop. I can see it now. The memories unlocking like I've found the right combination to a safe I thought was permanently sealed. I did practice in the mirror. Anna was right about that. I stood in my bathroom trying out different versions of how to greet her, feeling like a teenager instead of a 32-year-old architect. I wore the blue shirt she'd complimented. I showed up 15 minutes early and then walked around the block 3 times so I wouldn't seem desperate. The spilled water happened exactly like she said. I was so nervous my hand trembled when I reached for the glass, and it went everywhere, across the table, onto my lap, nearly into her purse. She just laughed and helped me clean it up, and somehow that disaster broke the tension and made everything easier. I ordered the butternut squash ravioli for her because she'd mentioned loving squash in passing during our coffee shop conversation, and I'd filed that information away like I filed away everything back then. The look on her face when she tasted it, surprised, delighted, a little impressed that I'd remembered, made me feel like I'd accomplished something miraculous. We talked about everything and nothing, her childhood in Oregon, my parents' divorce. The weird exhibition she was curating featuring sculptures made entirely of recycled electronics, my obsession with brutalist architecture. She told me about her sister's upcoming wedding. I told her about the bridge project that had consumed my life for the past year. When I walked her home, she lived in a third-floor apartment with a view of absolutely nothing but the building next door. I kissed her goodnight on her doorstep. It was awkward and perfect, and she tasted like the tiramisu we'd shared for dessert. The memory of that kiss sits bright and clear in my mind as I write, and I'm almost crying with relief. It's still there. She's still there, in my head, in these pages. I'm not losing her. Not yet. I keep writing. Our second date, when we went to a terrible action movie and made fun of the dialogue the whole time, the first time she came to my apartment and fell asleep on my couch while I worked on a project, and I just sat there watching her breathe, thinking about how I wanted her in my space always. The morning she left her toothbrush in my bathroom and we both pretended it was an accident, even though we knew what it meant. The trip to the coast for her birthday. The night we stayed up until dawn talking about what we wanted from life. The moment I realized I loved her, not gradually, not slowly, but all at once, like stepping off a cliff while she was telling some animated story about her impossible coworker and gesticulating so wildly she nearly knocked over a lamp. The journal fills with our history, and I feel like I'm building something solid, creating a fortress against the future. Each memory I capture is one I won't lose. Each detail preserved on paper is a victory against the disease trying to erase me. By early afternoon, my hand is cramping and I've filled 30 pages. The coffee has gone completely cold. My phone has several missed calls from work that I'll have to deal with later. But I feel lighter than I have in weeks. This can work. This will work. I read back through what I've written, and it's all there. The trajectory of us, from strangers to lovers to partners to the couple planning to buy a house with a ridiculous porch. The story is preserved. Even if my brain betrays me, even if the proteins keep building up and the neurons keep dying, this will remain. Anna comes home to find me still at the table, surrounded by pages covered in my handwriting. She stops in the doorway, her bag sliding off her shoulder, and I can see she's afraid to ask. I hold up the journal, and I'm smiling for what feels like the first time in forever. I've been remembering us, I tell her with the gesture. All of it. Every beautiful moment. And now it's safe. Now it's real in a way that doesn't depend on my failing neurons. She crosses the room and looks at the pages, her finger tracing over words, over dates, over the detailed reconstruction of our beginning. When she looks up at me, there are tears streaming down her face, but she's smiling too. For a moment, we both believe that this is enough. That love can be reduced to words on a page, that a story written down is a story saved. For a moment, on this good day, everything feels possible again. The blank page mocks me. I've been sitting here for 3 hours, or is it 4? Staring at the empty space where memories should flow onto paper like they did last week. Or was it 2 weeks ago? Time has become slippery, unreliable, another thing I can no longer trust. Today is a bad day. I know this because Anna kissed my forehead before leaving for work, a gesture that's become a kind of barometer. On good days, she kisses my lips. On bad days, it's my forehead, like I'm fragile, like I might break. She tried to hide the worry in her eyes, but I caught it anyway. That flicker of fear mixed with something worse. Pity, maybe. Or grief for someone who's still alive. The journal sits open in front of me. I've reread the last entry 3 times, trying to use it as a springboard, a diving board back into the pool of our shared past. The entry is about our engagement, how I proposed on a hiking trail overlooking the ocean, how I nearly dropped the ring because my hands were shaking so badly, how she said yes before I even finished the question. I remember writing these words. I can see my handwriting, recognize the slightly uneven slant of the letters. But the memory itself feels secondhand now, like I'm reading someone else's story. Like I've memorized facts about people I've never met. Today I'm supposed to write about our wedding. I've been working chronologically through our relationship, building the narrative piece by piece. The wedding should be easy. It was less than 5 years ago, one of the most important days of my life. I have photos. I have the video Anna's sister made. I have all the evidence I need. But I can't remember it. I close my eyes and try to force the images to surface. The venue, it was outdoors, I'm almost certain. Or was it in a hotel ballroom? There were flowers, white roses maybe, or were they lilies? Anna wore a dress. Obviously she wore a dress. What color? White, of course, that's what brides wear. But I can't see her in it. Can't conjure the image of her walking toward me, even though that moment should be seared into my brain forever. My hand hovers over the page, pen trembling. I write the date. I have to check my phone for the exact date. And even then I have to verify it against the photos. And then nothing. The words won't come because there are no words, just empty space where a whole day should be. I try the photos. I spread them across the table, dozens of professionally shot images that document a day I apparently lived through. There's me in a suit that looks expensive. There's Anna in a dress that's beautiful, lace and silk and something elegant I don't have the vocabulary to describe. There's my mother crying. There's Anna's father making a toast. I study each photo like I'm preparing for a test, trying to memorize the details. The venue was outdoors after all. There's a garden in the background, trees strung with lights. The flowers were a mix, roses and peonies and something else I can't identify. My best man was David. I remember David. We went to college together, though I'm having trouble remembering his last name right now. But these are just facts. Data points. They don't connect to anything real inside me. I try to write anyway, force the pen to move. Our wedding was on May 14th. It was outdoors. Anna wore a white dress. The sentences are flat, lifeless. They sound like a police report. This isn't a memory. It's an autopsy of a day I should own completely. I rip the page out, crumple it, throw it across the room. Start again. I remember feeling nervous when I saw Anna coming down the aisle. But did I? Was I nervous? Or am I just writing what I think I should have felt, filling in the blanks with cliches and assumptions? I have no idea. The emotion is gone, leaving only the skeleton of narrative structure. Another crumpled page joins the first. The frustration builds like pressure behind my eyes. This was supposed to work. The journal was supposed to save me, save us, preserve everything that matters. But what good is writing down a story if I can't access the original material? If the source files are corrupted beyond recovery? I flip back through the earlier entries, the ones from the good days. The coffee shop, our first kiss, the trip to the coast. wrote those with such detail, such confidence. The memories flowed like I was channeling them directly onto paper. Now, reading them feels like reading fiction. Beautiful fiction, probably true, but disconnected from my actual lived experience. How long until I can't even read these? How long until the words themselves become meaningless symbols on a page? I try again, and again. Each attempt produces another paragraph of hollow sentences, of secondhand storytelling. I write that the ceremony was short. I write that we danced to a song whose title I can't recall. I write that Anna laughed when I stepped on her foot during the first dance. Did that happen? It sounds like the kind of thing that might happen. Or maybe I'm confusing our wedding with some movie I watched once. By late afternoon, the table is covered with crumpled pages. My hand aches from gripping the pen too hard. My head pounds with the effort of trying to excavate memories from the static that's taken up residence in my brain. The wedding video is still on my laptop. I could watch it. Could use it to fill in the details I've lost. But something in me rebels against this solution. It would be cheating, wouldn't it? Writing down what the video shows me instead of what I actually remember? That's not preserving my memories. That's creating a transcript of a recording. And what comes after that? When I can't remember yesterday, will I just write down what Anna tells me happened? When I can't remember this morning, will I describe what my calendar says I did? At what point does this journal stop being my story and become everyone else's version of me? The white noise in my head grows louder. It's how I've started thinking about it, the blank static that's replacing my thoughts, my memories, myself. Some days it's just a faint hiss in the background. Today it's deafening. I close the journal, put down the pen, rest my head in my hands. This is what losing your mind feels like. Not dramatic, not cinematic. Just sitting at a table on a Tuesday afternoon, unable to remember one of the happiest days of your life, surrounded by crumpled paper like casualties of a war you're losing. When Anna comes home, she finds me still at the table. The journal is closed, no new entries. She doesn't ask. Just wraps her arms around me from behind and holds on tight, her cheek pressed against the top of my head. I want to apologize. Want to tell her I tried. Want to explain that the memories are still in there somewhere. I'm sure they are, just locked behind doors I can no longer open. But I'm afraid if I start talking, I'll start crying. And if I start crying, I might not be able to stop. So I just sit there, letting her hold me, listening to the white noise grow louder, drowning out everything that used to make me who I was. The coffee mug is in the wrong place. This shouldn't matter. I know this shouldn't matter. It's just a mug, just an object occupying a few square inches of counter space. But it's not where it's supposed to be, and the wrongness of it scrapes against my brain like sandpaper. Anna must have used it this morning and put it back in the wrong spot. She does this sometimes, leaves things just slightly out of place, disrupts the careful order I've been trying to maintain. The mug belongs on the left side of the coffee maker, handle facing right. Now it's on the right side, handle facing left, and my hands are shaking as I move it back where it belongs. Except 5 minutes later, I can't remember if I already moved it or if I'm about to move it. The loop plays in my head. Wrong place. Move it. Forget. Wrong place again. I stand in the kitchen holding the mug, completely lost in the simple geography of our counter space. The rage comes from nowhere and everywhere at once. It's not about the mug. I know it's not about the mug. It's about the disease carving away at my brain, about the fact that I used to design buildings and now I can't remember where we keep the coffee mugs. It's about losing a war I didn't even know I was fighting until it was already over. But in the moment, it feels like it's about the mug. About Anna's carelessness, her refusal to understand that I need things to stay where they are because everything else is chaos. I slam the mug down on the counter harder than I mean to, and it chips. A small piece of ceramic breaks off and skitters across the floor. The sound brings Anna running from the bedroom, her hair still wet from the shower. She stops in the doorway, taking in the scene. Me standing rigid in the middle of the kitchen, the broken mug, My face that must look like a stranger's right now because I feel like a stranger to myself. I can see her trying to choose her words carefully, see her running through options in her head. This is what we've become. Two people walking on eggshells around each other, afraid that any wrong move will trigger an explosion neither of us knows how to contain. She says something about it being just a mug, about having plenty of others. Her voice is gentle, patient, the tone you'd use with a child who's upset about something trivial. And maybe that's fair. Maybe I am being childish. But the condescension in that gentleness makes the anger spike higher. I try to explain about the order, about needing things to be predictable when my own mind isn't. But the words come out wrong, tangled up with frustration and something uglier. I can hear myself being unreasonable, can hear the accusations building. Why can't she just put things back where they belong? Why is she making this harder? Doesn't she understand what I'm going through? Of course she understands. She's living through it too, watching the person she loves disappear piece by piece. But I'm too deep in the anger to access that perspective, too consumed by the feeling that I'm drowning and she's not throwing me a rope fast enough. She says something else. I miss the exact words because the white noise is building again, that static hiss that drowns out everything else. I see her mouth moving, see the hurt in her eyes, but it's all happening behind glass somehow. Distant. Disconnected. And then the anger drains out of me as suddenly as it came, leaving behind something worse. Emptiness. A flat, gray nothing where emotions should be. I sit down at the kitchen table, still holding the chipped mug, and feel absolutely zero about everything. The fight we just had might as well have happened to different people. Anna is crying now, I can see that, but it doesn't touch me. I'm watching from somewhere far away, a spectator to my own life. This is new. The anger I've felt before, flashes of irritation, moments of frustration. But this apathy is different. It's like someone reached into my chest and switched off whatever makes me care about things. About Anna, about myself, about the fact that I just hurt the person I love over a coffee mug. She sits down across from me, her face wet with tears, and reaches for my hand. I let her take it. I don't pull away, but I don't squeeze back either. I just sit there, numb, wondering if this is what it's going to be like from now on. Swinging between extremes, rage and emptiness, with nothing in between. The disease is eating more than my memories. It's eating my personality, my emotional regulation, all the invisible systems that make me recognizably human. I'm becoming someone else. Someone I don't particularly like. Later, after Anna has gone to work with red eyes and a forced smile, I try to write in the journal. Try to document what just happened, process it somehow. But the page stays mostly blank. How do you describe feeling nothing? How do you capture in words the experience of watching yourself hurt someone and feeling like it's happening to actors on a screen? I manage a few lines. I made Anna cry today. Over a mug. I was angry, and then I wasn't angry, and I don't know which was worse. The words look pathetic. They don't capture the real horror of it, not the fight itself, but what the fight represents. The slow dissolution of everything we built together. The way the disease is inserting itself between us like a wedge, turning us into caregiver and patient instead of partners. I think about the house we were going to buy, the porch where we were supposed to grow old together. All those plans we made when the future seemed like something we could count on. Now the future is a threat, a series of deteriorations I can chart but not prevent. The really terrifying part is that I can feel myself not caring about this either. The apathy is still there, wrapping around everything like fog. I should be devastated by what I've become. I should be fighting harder, trying to hold on to myself. Instead, I'm just tired. Bone-deep, soul-crushing tired. By the time Anna comes home that evening, I've moved to the couch, haven't eaten, haven't done much of anything except sit and stare at the wall, watching the afternoon light change angles across the room. She finds me there, still holding the journal. No new entries beyond those few pathetic lines. She doesn't ask if I'm okay. We've moved past that question. Instead, she just curls up next to me on the couch, careful not to crowd me, and we sit in silence while the room grows dark around us. I want to apologize. Want to tell her I know I'm destroying us, that I can see what's happening and feel powerless to stop it. But the words stick in my throat, and the apathy pulls me back under before I can force them out. This is what the disease does. It doesn't just take your memories, it takes your ability to be the person those memories are about. It fragments you, scatters you, until you're just pieces of something that used to be whole. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, is that some small, still functioning corner of my brain understands exactly what's happening and can't do anything about it except watch. Watch as I push away the only person I have left. Watch as the fragments get smaller and smaller. Watch as I become someone neither of us recognizes anymore. I wake up and know Anna's name. Not the way I've been knowing it lately. Reading it in my phone, seeing it written on notes I leave for myself, having to consciously retrieve it from wherever in my brain it's been hiding. I just know it. The way I used to know my own address, my mother's birthday, the exact specifications for load-bearing steel beams. Anna, my wife. The woman sleeping beside me with her red hair spread across the pillow like spilled wine. The clarity is stunning. It's been weeks, maybe months, I've lost track, since my mind felt this sharp, this present. I lie still for a moment, almost afraid to move, worried that any disruption might shatter this unexpected gift. But the sharpness holds. My thoughts move in clean lines instead of the usual fragmented spirals. I know what day it is. Tuesday, October 17th. I know we have milk in the refrigerator and that it expires tomorrow. I know the name of Anna's coworker who's been causing her stress, Michelle, the new curator who keeps overstepping boundaries. These small facts feel like treasures, like I've stumbled onto a cache of gold coins I thought were lost forever. The medical literature calls this paradoxical lucidity, though Dr. Chen warned us not to hope for it. Temporary improvements that sometimes occur in degenerative diseases, windows of clarity that appear without warning and disappear just as suddenly. False victories, she called them, that can make the subsequent decline feel even more brutal. But right now, in this moment, I don't care about the subsequent anything. I have my mind back, however temporarily, and I'm going to use every second of it. Anna stirs beside me, and when her eyes open and find mine, I watch the recognition cross her face. Not just that I'm awake, but that I'm really here, really present in a way I haven't been in too long. Her eyes fill with tears, but she's smiling, and I reach for her with steady hands that remember how to hold her properly. The good day stretches into a good week. My memory isn't perfect. There are still gaps, still moments where I have to pause and search for words, but it's functional. Reliable enough that I can plan, can think beyond the next 5 minutes, can have actual conversations instead of just navigating a fog. I finish entries in the journal I haven't been able to touch in weeks. The words flow again, and while I'm writing about the past, I'm also acutely aware that I'm living in a present worth documenting. This reprieve, this unexpected gift of myself given back to me. On the 5th day, I ask Anna if we can go back to the coast, to the little town where we spent our honeymoon. Cannon Beach, the name comes easily, along with the memory of tide pools and sea stacks and the rental cottage with the crooked shutters. I want to see it again while I still can. While I can still form new memories that might, if I'm very lucky, stay with me. She takes the week off work without hesitation. We pack light and drive north, and I insist on taking a turn behind the wheel because I can. Because the route feels clear in my head, and my reflexes feel trustworthy. Anna watches me nervously at first, then relaxes as I navigate the highway with the competence I used to take for granted. The coast in October is cold and beautiful and exactly as I remember it. The cottage we rent isn't the same one. That place was sold years ago, but it's similar enough. Weathered shingles and an ocean view and the constant sound of waves that makes everything else feel distant and unimportant. We walk the beach at sunrise, our hands intertwined, our boots leaving prints in the wet sand. I can name the birds we see, sandpipers and gulls and a single cormorant perched on a rock. I can remember the route to the coffee shop in town that Anna loved, the one with the homemade cinnamon rolls the size of dinner plates. We eat lunch at a seafood restaurant where the fish is caught that morning. I order for both of us without checking the menu twice, without second-guessing myself. And when the food arrives, it's exactly what we wanted. These tiny victories feel enormous. In the evenings, we sit on the cottage's small deck wrapped in blankets, watching the sun sink into the Pacific. Anna reads aloud from a novel she brought, and I follow the plot without losing track of characters or timeline. When she pauses, I can discuss what we just read, offer theories about where the story might go. One night, she sets the book aside and just looks at me, really looks at me, and I see all the grief and relief and desperate hope warring in her expression. I pull her close and press my forehead against hers, and for the first time in months, I can find the right words. I tell her I love her. I tell her I'm grateful for this time, for her patience, for the way she stayed even when I became someone barely recognizable. I tell her I'm sorry for the things I've said and done and failed to do when the fog was thickest. She cries against my shoulder, and I hold her and remember exactly how to do this, how to be the person she married instead of the ghost I've been becoming. We make love that night, slow and tender and fully present in a way that hasn't been possible in too long. Afterward, lying in the dark listening to the ocean, I feel almost normal, almost whole. The disease is still there. I'm not delusional enough to think otherwise, but it's receded to the background, giving me this brief parole from my own deterioration. On our last morning, we walked to the tide pools we visited on our honeymoon. The starfish are still there, the anemones still blooming in the shallow water. Anna takes photos with her phone, but I don't need them. The memory forms clear and sharp, slotting into place alongside the older memory of being here before, and I can feel both existing simultaneously in my mind. Past and present overlapping, the way memory is supposed to work. I want this to last forever. I want to freeze time here on this beach with my wife, with my mind intact and the future still negotiable. But I'm an architect. I understand structural integrity, can recognize when a building is sound, and when it's held together by wishful thinking and luck. This is temporary. I know that. The disease hasn't stopped, it's just paused, catching its breath before the next assault. But I'm so grateful for these days that I almost can't bear it. Grateful and terrified in equal measure because now I remember what I'm losing. Now I have something concrete to mourn. On the drive home, Anna's hand rests on my knee and I cover it with mine. The road stretches ahead, and for just a little while longer, I know exactly where we're going. The pharmacy is supposed to be 2 blocks from our apartment. I've been there hundreds of times, picking up prescriptions, buying toothpaste, grabbing emergency milk when we've run out. 2 blocks. Turn left out of our building, walk straight. It's on the corner next to the coffee shop with the green awning, except nothing looks right. I'm standing on a sidewalk in my own neighborhood, and every building is a stranger. The street signs mean nothing. The faces passing by belong to people I've never seen, in a city I suddenly can't place. My heart starts hammering against my ribs. How did I get here? I was going to the pharmacy. Anna needed her allergy medication. I remember leaving the apartment. I think I remember leaving the apartment. But the path between there and here has disappeared like water through a drain. I check my pockets for my phone. It's not there. Or maybe I already checked and forgot I checked. The panic rises like floodwater. I try to retrace my steps, but I can't remember which direction I came from. Every street looks identical. Every corner could be the right one or the wrong one. A woman passes me pushing a stroller, and I almost ask her for help, but the words tangle up in my mouth. Help me what? Help me find my way home? I don't know my address. The information that should be automatic, carved into some fundamental part of my brain, is just gone. I start walking. Maybe movement will shake something loose, trigger some recognition. But block after block reveals nothing familiar. The sun is setting. When did it get so late? And the shadows stretch long and threatening across the pavement. I'm cold. Did I bring a jacket? I can't remember. A bus passes and I almost flag it down, but I don't know which route to take. Don't know where I'm trying to go. The words home and apartment float in my head without connecting to any actual location. How long have I been walking? Hours? Minutes? Time has become as unreliable as geography. Eventually, I recognize something, a park with a distinctive fountain. I've been here before. The relief is crushing, makes my knees weak. If I know this park, then I'm not completely lost. I sit on a bench trying to slow my breathing, trying to think through the static. Anna will be worried. This thought surfaces clearly and I grab onto it like a lifeline. Anna, my wife. She'll be looking for me. But I don't have my phone. Can't call her. Don't know how to get back to wherever she is. A police officer approaches eventually, asks if I'm all right. I must look as lost as I feel. I try to explain, but the words come out jumbled. Something about a pharmacy. Something about my wife. The officer is patient, asks for my name, my address. I give him my name. I still know my name, thank God. But the address is locked behind a door I can't open. He asks for Anna's name. I know it. I knew it this morning. But now, with him looking at me expectantly and the pressure building in my skull, I can't retrieve it. It starts with A? Anna. Anne? Andrea? The certainty I had just seconds ago evaporates. The officer finds my wallet, calls the number on my medical alert card, a card I don't remember getting. Within 20 minutes, Anna is there. I see her running across the park toward me and I know her face. Know that I love her. But for a terrible, stretching moment, I can't remember her name or how I know her. The confusion must show on my face because she stops a few feet away and something dies in her expression. She's looking at me like I'm already a ghost. Then it clicks back. Anna, my wife, my Anna. The relief and horror hit simultaneously. I reach for her and she comes, wrapping her arms around me while I shake against her shoulder. But we both know what just happened. What it means. The ride home is silent. I stare out the window at streets that gradually become familiar again, like my brain is slowly reloading a corrupted file. By the time we pull up to our building, I recognize it. Remember the number of our apartment? 4B. The information slots back into place like it never left, but the absence of it is still there, a negative space that screams danger. That night, after Anna has fed me dinner I can't taste and checked on me a dozen times, I sit alone in the dark living room. The journal is on the coffee table where I left it this morning. This morning when I was still a person who could walk to a pharmacy without getting lost. When I could still remember my own address. I pick up the journal and hold it in my hands. All these pages filled with memories and stories and desperate attempts to preserve something that's already gone. What's the point? I couldn't remember our wedding when it mattered. Couldn't remember Anna's name today when the police officer asked. This journal is just evidence of a person who doesn't exist anymore. A monument to futility. The anger comes fast and consuming. Anger at the disease. At my failing brain. At Anna for having to watch this. At myself for being stupid enough to think writing things down would save me. I throw the journal across the room. It hits the wall and falls open, pages crumpling, and the sound brings Anna running from the bedroom. She finds me on the couch, my head in my hands, making sounds I don't recognize as coming from myself. She picks up the journal carefully, smoothing out the bent pages. She doesn't say anything, just sits next to me and holds the book and holds me, and we stay like that while I fall apart. This is the bottom. I can feel it. The moment where denial becomes impossible, where hope finally breaks against reality. I got lost going to the pharmacy. Tomorrow, I might get lost in our apartment. Might forget how to tie my shoes. Might look at Anna and see only a stranger. The person I was, the architect, the husband, the man with the perfect memory, is disappearing, and no amount of writing can preserve what's already dissolving. The journal can't save me. Nothing can save me. I'm losing the war. No, I've already lost. I'm just waiting now for the surrender to be complete. Anna holds me tighter as this understanding settles over us both. She's crying, and I'm crying, and the journal sits on her lap like an artifact from someone else's life. Outside, the city carries on, people finding their way home without thinking about it, people remembering addresses and names and the simple geography of their own lives. People who aren't me. I close my eyes and try to remember what it felt like to be one of them, but that memory is already gone. The journal sits on the coffee table for 3 days. I see it there, spine cracked, pages still slightly bent from where it hit the wall. I know what it is, some part of me remembers, but I can't make myself pick it up. The sight of it fills me with a dull ache I don't fully understand. Something about failure, something about a promise I couldn't keep. Anna moves around it carefully like it's a landmine. She straightens the magazines, waters the plant on the windowsill, does everything except touch the journal. On the fourth day, she picks it up. I'm sitting on the couch, not watching television. The images move too fast. The plot lines tangle and slip away before I can grasp them. Just sitting and existing in the gray space that's become most of my life. She sits beside me close enough that I can feel her warmth and opens the journal to a blank page. I watch her hand move across the paper. The motion is soothing, rhythmic. I can't read what she's writing from this angle, but I can see her lips moving slightly, forming words. After a while, she turns to me. Her eyes are red, but she's not crying now. She shows me what she's written. November 12th. Today we woke up late. The sun was coming through the bedroom window in that way you used to call architectural lighting, remember? You always said our bedroom had perfect morning light. We had coffee together. You take yours black now, though you used to add cream. I don't know if you forgot you like cream, or if your tastes changed, or if this is just easier. You drank it and seemed content. We sat on the couch. You held my hand. You do this more now. Reach for me without words. I think maybe when language fails, the body remembers. I read slowly, following her finger as she traces under each word. Something about seeing our life written in her handwriting instead of mine feels different. Not wrong, just different. Like looking at a familiar room from a new angle. She continues writing while I watch. Her script is neater than mine. Loops where I make straight lines, flourishes where I rushed. She writes about the lunch she made, about the bird that landed on our windowsill, about the way I smiled when she played an old song we both knew once. The journal was supposed to be my voice, my memories, my fight against forgetting, but Anna is giving it a new purpose. She's not trying to preserve what was. She's documenting what is. The small, quiet moments of our present tense. The life we're still living, even if I can't hold on to it the way I used to. She turns another page and keeps writing. I lean against her shoulder, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo. Something floral, I don't know the name, and feel something loosen in my chest. Alex is reading over my shoulder. He does this now, watches me write like he's trying to understand why I'm doing it. I want to tell him, I'm doing it because you can't anymore. I'm doing it because our story doesn't end just because you can't remember it. I'm doing it because I love you, and love means bearing witness. The pen sits on the table between us. I pick it up, feel the weight of it in my hand. It's familiar and foreign at once. I used to fill pages with this pen. Used to think I could write our way to safety. Anna slides the journal closer to me, a question in her gesture. I look at the page, at her words, at the blank space below them. My hand trembles as I bring the pen to paper. The letters come slowly. My handwriting looks different than I remember. Shakier, less certain. But the words form. I don't remember everything. But I remember this matters. It takes me a long time to write those 9 words. Each letter is an effort, a small victory against the fog. When I finish, I look at Anna and see tears streaming down her face. But she's smiling. She takes the pen gently from my hand and writes beneath my words. Yes, this matters. We matter. Today, tomorrow, whatever comes. We matter. I may not remember writing this tomorrow, may not remember this moment, this decision to let go of what the journal was supposed to be and accept what it's becoming. But right now, sitting here with Anna, watching our words intertwine on the page, I understand something fundamental. The story isn't over just because I can't tell it anymore. Anna will tell it for both of us. She'll fill the pages with our ordinary days, our small graces, the ways we keep finding each other even as I keep getting lost. I lean my head against hers and close my eyes. The journal is open on her lap, our words side by side. Mine, barely legible, probably my last coherent contribution to this chronicle. Hers, clear and strong, ready to carry us forward. This is love. Not the grand romantic gesture from the beginning. Not the desperate fight to preserve the past. Just this. Her willingness to hold the pen when my hand fails. Her choice to keep writing our story, even when I can't remember the plot. Outside, the afternoon is fading into evening. The light changes. Time moves forward whether we remember it or not. Anna keeps writing. The photograph is from our wedding. Anna holds it up, and I study the two people in it. Strangers in formal clothes, smiling at the camera. She points to the man in the suit, then touches my hand. Points to the woman in the white dress, then touches her own chest. Us. These strangers are us. I nod, though the connection between the image and our current selves feels abstract. She produces a glue stick, and together we press the photo onto a fresh page of the journal. My hands shake, making it difficult, but her hands steady mine. We smooth down the edges together. This is how we spend our afternoons now. Not writing. I can rarely manage words anymore, and when I do, they come out scrambled, letters in the wrong order. But we can still do this. We can still create something together, even if it's just arranging photographs and pressing them onto paper. Anna writes beneath the wedding photo. I watch her pen move, the shapes of letters forming words I can't always read anymore. But I understand the gesture. She's keeping the record. She's the keeper of our story now. Music plays from somewhere in the room. I don't know what it is, but my body responds to it. My foot tapping, my shoulders moving slightly. Anna sees this and smiles. She stands and extends her hand to me. We dance. Or something like dancing. Swaying together in our living room, her arms around me, my head resting on her shoulder. No steps to remember. No choreography to follow. Just movement together to sounds that feel right, even if I can't name them. This is our new language. Touch instead of words. Presence instead of conversation. Her hand in mine means safety. Her arm around my shoulders means comfort. The pressure of her forehead against mine means I love you, I'm here, we're okay. Sometimes I try to speak. The words that come out aren't always the ones I intend, but Anna has learned to listen for meaning beneath the mistakes. When I point to the window and say something that sounds like bird but probably isn't, she looks and tells me what she sees. A sparrow. A robin. It doesn't matter if I retain the information. What matters is that we look together. The journal has evolved into something neither of us expected. It's no longer a desperate attempt to preserve the past. It's a scrapbook of our present. Photos from today, from yesterday, from moments I won't remember tomorrow. Anna's handwriting documenting the small victories, the walk we took around the block, the soup I helped her stir, the way I smiled when she played a particular song. She reads to me sometimes, opens the journal and traces her finger under the words, and even though I can't follow the narrative anymore, I hear her voice. The rhythm and cadence of it. The love in the tone. That communicates more than the actual content ever could. One afternoon, she brings out old photographs, dozens of them spread across the kitchen table. She doesn't quiz me, doesn't ask if I remember who these people are or where these places were. Instead, she just describes them. Tells me stories about the man and woman in the pictures, about their life together. Sometimes I nod along. Sometimes I'm somewhere else entirely, but she keeps talking, her voice a steady anchor. We glue some of these into the journal too, creating a mosaic of a life. Our life, she tells me, though it feels more like a story about characters I might have known once. There are hard days. Days when I'm agitated, when the world feels wrong and threatening, when I don't recognize our apartment or understand why this woman keeps following me. On those days, she doesn't push. just stays close, hums quietly, holds my hand if I'll let her. But there are gentle days too, days when something connects, a smell, a sound, a particular quality of light, and I surface briefly into clarity. I might not remember facts or names, but I feel something: warmth, safety, love without the vocabulary to express it. Anna has learned to read my limited expressions. The way I rub my temple means my head hurts. The way I pull at my collar means I'm too warm. The way I reach for her hand means I'm scared or confused or just need to know she's there. We've developed this vocabulary of gestures, this shorthand that requires no words at all. The journal sits on the coffee table, always within reach. Sometimes I pick it up and flip through the pages, looking at the pictures, running my fingers over the handwriting. Mine from the early pages, hers from later on. I don't understand what I'm looking at, but the object itself has become important. A talisman. A physical reminder that something matters, even if I can't articulate what. Anna adds to it daily. Not lengthy entries anymore, just brief notes and new photos. Today we sat in the park. Today you held my hand during the entire walk. Today you said my name, clear as a bell, and I cried. This is our life now, stripped down to its most basic elements. No complex conversations, no shared plans for the future. Just this: her presence and mine, her hand and mine, her love and whatever I have left to give in return. The language we speak now is one of proximity and patience, of repetition without expectation, of showing up every day to sit beside each other, to touch, to be, even when being is all we can manage. And somehow, impossibly, it's enough. Epilogue. I remember. The afternoon light filters through the window the way it always does this time of day. Anna sits in the chair beside my bed. When did I start spending so much time in bed? With the leather journal open on her lap. Her voice is familiar, the sound of it more than the words. She's reading something, her finger tracing lines across the page, and I watch her lips move. The rhythm is soothing, like music, like rain. Sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm elsewhere. Not asleep, but not quite present either. Floating in that gray space where time doesn't move in the orderly way it used to. But her voice calls me back, or keeps me tethered, or maybe just fills the space around me with something warm. She reads about a coffee shop, about someone spilling water at a restaurant, about a trip to the ocean. The stories might be about people I knew once. The details slide through my mind without catching on anything, but her voice remains. The tone of it? The love embedded in each word, even when the words themselves mean nothing to me. She shows me pictures. Two people, young, happy, holding each other. She points to them, then to us, creating some connection I can't quite grasp. But I see she wants me to understand something important, so I nod. This seems to make her happy, or maybe sad. I can't always tell the difference anymore. Her hand finds mine on the blanket. Her fingers are warm. They curl around my palm, and something in my body remembers this, even though my mind doesn't. Remembers safety. Remembers comfort. Remembers being less alone. I look at her face. Really look at it. There are tears on her cheeks, but she's smiling. The expression confuses me, but I recognize something in it. Something essential. This person matters. This person is important. This person is... The word won't come. It never comes anymore. But the feeling is there, deep and certain and older than language. She keeps reading, keeps showing me pages filled with handwriting and photographs, keeps talking in that soft voice about moments I can't place and people I can't name, but underneath all the words I don't understand, I hear what she's really saying. I'm here. I won't leave. You're not alone. My hand, almost without conscious thought, tightens around hers. Just slightly. Just enough. She stops reading, looks at me, and the smile that breaks across her face is the most beautiful thing I've never seen. She sets the journal aside and leans close, her forehead touching mine. We breathe together like this, in sync without trying. And in this moment, stripped of everything I used to be, the memories, the words, the careful architecture of personality, I am reduced to this single truth. I don't remember her name, don't remember our story, don't remember the life we built together or the promises we made. But I know this: I'd love her. The knowing lives somewhere deeper than memory, somewhere the disease can't reach. It's written into my bones, my blood, the parts of me that exist before and beyond thought. She whispers something. I don't catch the words, but I catch the meaning. It sounds like forever. Sounds like always. Sounds like even this is enough. Outside, the world continues. Inside this room, we exist in our own small pocket of time. Her hand in mine, our foreheads touching. The journal sitting nearby, full of words I can't read about a life I can't recall. But I remember this moment. Maybe I'll forget it tomorrow? Maybe I've already forgotten it and this is just an endless present tense, repeating forever. It doesn't matter. What matters is here, now, this. Her hand tightening around mine in response. The warmth of her. The certainty that whatever I've lost, I haven't lost everything. Love, it turns out, doesn't need memory to survive. It just needs this. Two people sitting together in the afternoon light, holding on.